You were taught to stay quiet. Not weak, just quiet. To not complain, to not show too much, to handle things on your own. And now, years later, you're strong on the outside, but exhausted on the inside, because no one ever taught you how to process what you feel. This is the psychology of Gen X. You grew up in a world that didn't slow down for emotions. Parents were busy, work came first, and somewhere in between you learned to take care of yourself, not because you wanted to, but because you had to. You remember coming home to an empty house, figuring things out on your own, making your own food, handling your own problems. No one asked, "How are you really feeling?" And over time, you stopped asking yourself, too. Here's what most people don't understand. Gen X didn't become independent by choice. They became independent by conditioning. When emotional needs aren't met early, the brain adapts. It says, don't rely on anyone. Handle it yourself. Stay in control. And at first, this looks like strength. You're reliable. You don't panic easily. You solve problems. But underneath that, something else is happening. You start disconnecting from your own emotions. Pause for a second. When was the last time you actually sat with your feelings without trying to fix them? Because here's the deeper truth. Gen X often carries a quiet emotional loneliness, not because they are alone, but because they were never taught how to be emotionally seen. So even in relationships, there's distance. You listen, you support, you show up, but when it's your turn, you hesitate. You think, it's not that important, I'll deal with it later. And later never comes. This is why many Gen X adults struggle with things they can't explain, overthinking at night, feeling disconnected in relationships, a constant need to stay in control, not because something is wrong with you, but because something was missing. Think about this. A child who learns to self-soothe too early doesn't stop needing comfort, they just stop expecting it. And that changes everything. It affects how you trust, how you love, how you open up. You might find yourself pushing people away, not because you don't care, but because depending on someone feels unfamiliar, even unsafe. Pause again. Do you ever feel like you have to be the strong one, even when you're falling apart? That's not strength, that's survival. But here's the part no one talks about. Gen X also has a rare kind of resilience. You've seen instability. You've adapted. You've learned to stand on your own. And that is powerful. But real growth happens when strength and vulnerability finally meet. Because you don't have to carry everything alone anymore. You're allowed to feel, to express, to not have all the answers. You're allowed to need people, even if you were taught not to. And maybe the strongest thing you can do now is something you were never taught before, to sit with your emotions without running from them, to say, this matters, I matter, and to slowly let someone in. Because healing doesn't come from being strong all the time.